We just got back from a 9-night Alaska cruise aboard Virgin Voyages Brilliant Lady. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Cruise Report. I'm Chris and I'm going to talk to you about our cruise we just got off of a few days ago aboard Brilliant Lady. This was a 9-night Seattle round trip cruise. Now, a little bit of background. This was our 154th cruise. It was our second cruise with Virgin Voyages. Our first cruise was aboard Scarlet Lady back in 2023. It was a 5-night Caribbean cruise. I want to let you know right up front that we paid for this cruise. Virgin Voyages did not invite us on this cruise, and they're not paying us to make this video. In fact, they have no idea what we're going to say. I'd also like to start out with a few ground rules. Number one, these are our opinions only, based on our experience and what we've done cruising over the last 20-some years. You may have a completely different experience on Virgin Voyages, good or bad, and that's why we have a comment section. If you disagree with anything I say, please put it in the comment section. I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of comments on this video. I also want to mention why we had Rockstar status or Rockstar perks, because I know it's going to come up in the comments. People are going to ask questions. You didn't have a Rockstar suite. How come you had Rockstar status? Well, as I said, we did pay for the cruise. We did have a sea terrace, a central sea terrace stateroom, which does not come with Rockstar perks. But I did reach out to Virgin Voyages and mention that we were going to be on board. We were going to be doing a story about the ship. And they did offer us Rockstar perks so that we could talk about it, write about it in our blog, talk about it in these videos, so I can give you a little bit of information. We're going to do a completely separate video on the Rockstar perks that come with a Rockstar suite. Not going to go into that too much in this video, but you're probably going to see some pictures or video clips where we have the black wristband, and we'll describe all that a little more in detail later on. So let's talk about embarkation and disembarkation. I'm going to put that into one section. First of all, the cruise terminal in Seattle at Pier 91, which is where we embark and disembark from, is not nearly as nice or sophisticated as the one Virgin Voyages has in Miami. It's not shared by any other cruise lines. This terminal, on the other hand, I think is shared by a lot of other cruise lines. Embarkation went relatively smooth. As I mentioned, we were given Rockstar status. When we got there, there wasn't really anybody that could identify that we were to have the Rockstar status, which meant we got early embarkation and priority disembarkation. So we had to go through several different people there at the terminal in Seattle, Virgin employees, that before we could get this all straightened out. It took about 20 minutes to get it all straightened out, but finally, one lady did take it on herself to really go do some research, and we were given the black wristbands, and we were allowed to embark early with the Rockstars, I guess you call it. Rockstar embarkation, not nearly as advanced as it was in Miami when we were on Scarlet Lady, but it was still early. It was better. We did get on early. They did escort us on board a little, in advance of the other non-Rockstar passengers or guests. And Rockstar disembarkation, they had a separate area set up where we could get off the ship. We were the first ones off the ship, and we had booked a transfer. We had an early flight, so that was a nice perk to have. If you have an early flight, you get off the ship first, but we did get off early. We made our flight, no problems. I would rate embarkation and disembarkation on Virgin as a 5 out of 5. I think they do a really good job with embarkation. We had little hiccups because of the Rockstar thing, but that's not something you're ever going to experience. So I think they do about as good a job on embarkation and disembarkation as any cruise line we've sailed with. Let's talk now about the ship, Brilliant Lady. There are 4 Virgin ships, is that right? Resilient Lady, Scarlet Lady, Valiant Lady, and Brilliant Lady. So they call them lady ships. There's 4 different ones. They're all virtually identical. Brilliant Lady right now is the only one that sails in Alaska. And we're going to talk more about this Alaska itinerary here in a little bit. Number one, they're very striking from the outside. You can't mistake a Virgin Voyages ship for any other cruise ship because, first of all, the paint job, they're gray with red accents. There's no question that these ships are designed for warm weather sailing. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. There's a lot of outside deck space, a lot of pool deck space. Even though the pools are a little small, they don't have large swimming pools. And they have 2 different pools. One is almost looks like a huge hot tub, and the other one is more of a normal swimming pool, but the swimming area itself, the pool area itself, is not very large, and I think they've come under some criticism for that. The ship feels more like it falls into the category of a mainstream cruise line, not a premium or luxury line. I would say it feels more like it would fall into that category as Carnival or MSC or Norwegian NCL. Just doesn't have a premium feel to it, but it's a nice ship on the inside. Now, the design is different. It's very quirky, very modern, very Austin Powers-like, but it is British, okay? Virgin is a British company, and maybe that's where they got their inspiration from. But the ship is very easy to navigate. There's 3 banks of elevators and stairs, so it's very easy to get around the ship. I will say we found a lot of the seating in the lounges and the public spaces to be kind of uncomfortable. There's a lot of hard surfaces. There's a lot of oddly shaped seating. For example, in the SIP lounge, there's a lot of seating that backs up to a kind of a rippled background, and it's very hard. So they needed some pillows or something there to lean up against because it was a very hard surface. So there are spaces on the ship we found to be rather uncomfortable as far as seating. Now, as far as the outer decks, the sun loungers to me look kind of cheap. They're kind of that mesh style with a metal frame. They're not padded. They're not, there's no cushions or anything on the sun loungers, even in some areas that you might think there would be. But there are a lot of padded lounge areas that are very large, almost like large beds that you can lay in that are comfortable. You have these on the dock. They have some up on 15 and 16. Now, I did not visit the spa on this trip. I did on Scarlet Lady, and my understanding is it's virtually identical to the one on Scarlet Lady. And if it is, it's a very nice spa and thermal suite area. So if you're a spa person, I think you'll enjoy it. So we're going to give the ship a 4 out of 5 rating overall. I wish the seating was a little more comfortable inside, but it is easy to navigate. It's a very, even though quirky, it's a nice design ship. We'll give it a 4 out of 5. Let's talk about our Terrace stateroom. Now, we did try to upgrade to one of the Rockstar suites through the Virgin website. They have a bidding process where once you've made your booking, you can go into a website and you can bid to get an upgrade. And we did that. The bidding seemed very expensive to us. We did put in a couple of bids for larger staterooms and Rockstar suites. We did not win those bids, so therefore we did not get to stay in the Rockstar suite that we had hoped to. That said, we ended up in a central sea terrace, which all that means is the same as any sea terrace other than it's centrally located on the ship. It's in a little bit more midship, and we were on deck 9, which is actually a pretty good location. Now, our sea terrace stateroom did feel a little bit smaller than the one we had on Scarlet Lady, but that might just be our imagination. Now, I did a complete walkthrough of this central sea terrace stateroom, so rather than going into a lot of detail in this video about the stateroom, I'm going to put a link to that video up here in the corner and in the description of this video where you can watch that full walkthrough review of our central Sea Terrace stateroom. But I'm going to go ahead and give the Sea Terrace stateroom a 3 out of 5. It was pretty comfortable and it was quiet, but it's just small. And the bathroom was very small. Okay, when we come back after this break, we're going to talk about dining, and we're going to talk about the bar service, and we're going to get into some other very interesting areas of this ship. So we'll be right back. I'm going to be very generous, and I'm going to give the dining on Brilliant Lady a 4 out of 5. Now, this is where I'm going to get a lot of flack and a lot of feedback from some of you, because there are a lot of loyal Virgin Voyages sailors out there, and one of the biggest things Virgin Voyages is known for is the quality of the food and the dining on board. And I've got to tell you, we were disappointed. It was not as good as we remembered from Scarlet Lady. And I'll get more into that in my dining video, where I'm going to go through every single restaurant, every single dining venue we ate at. I'll put a link to that video up here as well. I didn't want to take up a lot of time in this video. I will tell you, we just didn't think the food and the dining was as good as what we remembered from Scarlet Lady. But we are going to give it a 4 out of 5. And if you want to know more detailed information, check out that review as well. Now, bar service, we thought was pretty good. We give it a 4.5 out of 5. We thought the waitresses and the waiters did a good job. I don't even know if there were waiters. There were waitresses that would come and take our drink orders, and they were pretty prompt. Drink delivery was pretty prompt. We felt like the pricing of the bars, of the drinks, was in line with other cruise lines. It wasn't more expensive. And in some cases, it might have even been a little bit less expensive. Now, Virgin does not offer drink packages where you can pay so much per day and get unlimited drinks, or 10 drinks or 20 drinks a day. They don't offer that. What they do instead is they offer what's called a bar tab. You basically pre-purchase, you put up a certain amount of money, and they call it a bar tab. And then anytime you purchase a drink, it comes off that bar tab. Now, the advantage to that is you could buy drinks for other people at your table. So if you meet people and you're having fun and you're talking and say, hey, I'm going to buy a round of drinks, you can do that with this bar tab. You can't do that with a drink package on most cruise lines. They won't allow it. It's just for you and your spouse or whoever you're traveling with. So from that standpoint, I do kind of like the concept of the bar tab. And if you pre-purchase, like let's say, I think in our case, we put up $300 for the bar tab. We figured in 10 days, we'd probably spend $300. And Virgin gives you an extra $50 if you do that before you embark on the cruise, which we thought was a pretty good deal. So we went ahead and did the $300, and so we had $350, which was more than enough for the 10 days. In fact, it came out almost perfect. But remember, I'm a coffee drinker, so I have a cup of Americano every morning at Ground Club while I'm working on my computer. And that's $5 a day right there. So I spent $50 probably on coffee during the cruise. Virgin Voyages also allows you to bring 2 bottles of wine on board to enjoy in your stateroom. And I will say the stateroom refrigerator, I don't know if I mentioned this in my stateroom review, but the stateroom mini fridge is very cold. It keeps that wine very cold, so that's nice. But they don't provide wine glasses. So if you want to drink the wine you bring on board out of a wine glass, you probably have to go to one of the bars and ask them for a couple of glasses. Your stateroom attendant might also be able to get that for you. I'm not really sure. We didn't do that. But you can bring 2 bottles of wine on board. You cannot bring spirits on board, only wine. And if you purchase any spirits on board the ship in their onboard liquor store, you cannot take it back to the room. They'll hold it for you until the last day of the cruise. Let's talk about entertainment. First of all, Brilliant Lady and Virgin Voyages in general, we noticed this in Scarlet Lady as well, absolutely unmatched as far as lounge entertainment. So no matter where you go on the ship, there are live entertainers, a variety of music, a variety of acts. Sometimes it's solo, sometimes it's a duet, sometimes it's a group of 3 or 4 people playing. Great music. We didn't see any entertainment on board the ship that was not good, especially in the lounges, everywhere, really everywhere. Abby, the hostess, had an incredible voice. She did a couple of shows we went to, and her singing ability, her vocal ability is amazing. Now, every Virgin ship also has a diva on board. Now, this is a drag queen, and this person even put on a show. I didn't know that they performed, but the diva had a heck of a voice. It was a great singer. Put on a show one night at the On the Rocks Lounge, and very talented. Everybody on board the ship is very talented. Great production shows. We only saw one really big production show with 2 vocalists and I think 9 dancers. They also do a lot of special events and parties on board, like a pajama party. There's the Scarlet Night. They're really good at this. They're really good at entertainment. In fact, I would say that entertainment is Virgin Voyages' strong suit. They probably do a better job with entertainment than almost any other cruise line. If you add up all the lounge acts, the production shows, the parties, the special events, I think combined, they probably have the strongest entertainment presentation of any cruise line we've sailed on. Now, they also do a lot of activities. They have what's called the Happenings Cast, does trivia and games and onboard. They do a lot of stuff. There's always something going on around the ship. Lots of games, lots of trivia, lots of different types of scavenger hunts and all kinds of things. And everybody that was part of this Happenings Cast, very friendly, very personable, very nice. So we really enjoyed the onboard activities on Brilliant Lady. We're going to give entertainment overall 5 out of 5. I think it's as good as it can get. So let's talk about the crew and the service on board. Now, we're going to give the crew and service 5 out of 5. Everybody we came in contact with was super friendly, very pleasant, very nice. Our stateroom attendant went out of her way to do anything we asked for, as did her assistant. The Happenings Cast, I've already told you, was very good. Our only question is there a senior staff on board? We never saw anybody. There is no captain's welcome party. There's no captain's farewell. We never saw anybody in a senior staff uniform on board the ship. In none of the restaurants, we just never saw them. They do not interact with the guests like they do on other cruise lines. There was nothing like that. We never saw the ship's doctor. We never saw whatever staff members they have. We never saw any of them. So we thought that was a little unusual and very different. Okay, let's talk about the itinerary now. This was 9-night Alaska. We had a couple days at sea, then we ended up in Ketchikan, and then we did Hubbard Glacier, we did Sitka, we did icy Strait Point, which we'd never been to before, and then we did Victoria, British Columbia, and there were a couple more days at sea in there. Some of these, like Hubbard Glacier, technically it's a day at sea. You don't leave the ship for that. First of all, this is not, like I said earlier, this is not a cold weather ship. These ships were built and designed for warm weather. Now, somebody we met told us that Brilliant Lady was modified for Alaska by heating the pools, the pool area. We didn't get in the pool, so I can't confirm that, but you let me know in the comments if you know that's true, because there were people in the pools at some point. And I'm not talking about just hot tubs, and there are a lot of hot tubs on this ship. There's hot tubs everywhere you look. But they said the main pool is heated for the Alaska season. This was our 8th time to go to Alaska. This was our 8th Alaska trip, and I think I'm just going to say there's better cruise ships to see Alaska. If you've been to Alaska before and you just love Virgin Voyages and you want to go for the ship, the amenities, the entertainment, the dining, whatever, fine. If you've never been to Alaska, and you really want to immerse yourself in Alaska, see the glaciers, do all the other things that Alaska has to offer, I really think there's better choices personally. Something like Holland America or Princess might be a better option for you. This is still a good option, but it's not a cold weather ship. There's no inside lounge, like an observation lounge in the front upper part of the ship where you can sit in temperature control, warm, and whale watch or look at the glaciers. They don't have these venues on board. The only thing at the front of the ship up high is Richard's Retreat, and it's exposed to the wind, and you have to be a rock star to get in. I went up there a couple of times. It was so windy and so cold and so wet that it was unusable. So the ship's just not designed for cold weather. It has a lot of outside deck space, and if you're on the outer decks and you want to view glaciers or whales, you pretty much either have to go to deck 7, and then you're looking through glass. You can't actually see over a rail. You're looking through a tinted glass, which may be dirty or wet. You can go up to deck 15 or 16 or 17. There's some space up there, but you're really going to be exposed to the elements. And a lot of people got on the jogging track and used that for viewing. They do have a very nice jogging track as well. So all I'm saying is your viewing is limited. Deck 7 would be a great place to view things in Alaska, but it's all obstructed. There's lifeboats and all kinds of mechanical stuff. Now you can step out on deck 7, but again, you're looking through glass. You're not able to actually see over a rail and see anything. There's also better itineraries in Alaska than this. This was a 9-night itinerary. I think there's some 7-night itineraries that might give you a better experience in Alaska than this 9-night itinerary. Okay, I know I'm gonna get the hate messages for this. My opinion, that's just me. We've been to Alaska 8 times. If I was recommending an Alaska, now if you want to do this ship in the Caribbean or in the Mediterranean or in another warm weather environment, Panama Canal, if they even do that, I think it'd be a great option. But I think there's better choices for cold weather. Okay, go ahead. Let the hate comments come. I don't care. So our final assessment, we always like to rate ships based on, is this a good option for adult couples traveling as a couple? From that perspective, yes, because Virgin, much like Viking, much like now Oceania, they do not allow kids. So nobody under 18 is supposed to be on that ship. So from that standpoint, you don't have to worry about little kids running around, getting in your way or whatever. It is an adult experience. I think the Virgin Voyages trip is a good value from the standpoint that they don't charge you for any of the specialty restaurants. All of the specialty restaurants, all the dining on board is included. There's a couple of little things, extras you can do and pay extra for, but pretty much across the board, you can eat very well in a lot of different venues and not have to pay extra money to do that. I think the drink prices were fair. I don't think they gouge you, and they're nickel and diming you. They don't really do a lot of that on board this ship. They're not constantly trying to sell you photographs or art auctions or things like that. I think from that perspective, it's pretty good. Now, they do charge you for gratuities. I believe it's $20 or $22 a day. I think it's $20 a day, but if you prepay it, you might get a little bit better deal, like $18 a day per person, something along those lines. And the last thing I'll say, I just think it's incredible entertainment. So that's my final assessment. You let me know in the comments what you think. Are you a Virgin Voyages sailor? Have you done it before? What was your opinion of it? Would you consider a Virgin Voyages vacation? Don't forget, we do have an affiliate link. I'll put that in the description of the video if you're interested. And if you enjoyed this video, got anything out of it, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. That's going to really help my YouTube rankings, which we're trying to do. So thanks again for joining me. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you have any questions about this cruise. I'd be more than happy to answer anything we can. Thanks again, and until we see you on our next adventure, smooth sailing.